Thank you so much. So can someone raise a hand to make sure that you can hear me? Wonderful. Okay, so a lot of pressure on me because I'm moderating a great panel. So many smartest mind in AI in Avalanche ecosystem. So I can just go straight to the panel discussion. Give like 1 or 2 minutes, introduce about yourself and the problem you are solving and why your solution fit well with the Avalanche ecosystem.
Okay, cool. Can I start? Yeah. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Codatta. Little about myself. Actually, I get a PhD from University of Cincinnati. I was studying machine learning. And after that, I had been working for Pinterest and Alipay, all about the data and machine learning. And we started Codatta is more like 2 years ago. And the problem we try to solve is everybody knows that there are 3 pillars about AI, computing, algorithm innovation, and data. We focus on data, and we focus on sourcing advanced intelligence data. Is more like, okay, after the foundational training, we want to transform the foundational model into vertical solution. Even can enhance foundational model in some advanced capability like reasoning or coding, something like that. Yeah, and the reason we joined the Avalanche because the maturity of this blockchain, the ecosystem, and also high performance because this blockchain had been tested by the gaming application. That's very performance demanding. And also we have some of our friends and our peers. They also embraced in Avalanche like Kite. That's the reason we joined this like a vivid family or ecosystem. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nate Geier, CEO of Bitte Protocol. It's been amazing to go through the space. Started in 2014. I worked in traditional finance. Imagine you can swipe your card at Starbucks, and instead of getting some BS points, we actually went to the stock market and gave you fractional shares of publicly traded stock as a reward. So get a coffee, get 0.002 Starbucks stock. We worked very closely with Apex Clearing. They pioneered fractional shares with Robinhood. And I worked very close with all that technology, and it is a disaster. It's a mess. You do a trade on some random company, that goes to the clearing firm, it disappears for 3 days, you send CSV files, multiple CSV files to 7 different companies, and you just have to check that your math worked out like 4 days later. That's just a blockchain with extra steps. Literally, a clearing firm is just a trusted database. So 2014 to starting my company in 2018, started easy with NFTs, was deep, did the very first NFT ticketing for NFT NYC, Berlin Blockchain Week. We've always been kind of the first to do stuff, but we always did these deployments and we always got stuck on so many friction points. Wallets were really crappy. Nobody had a token to check people into the systems. But now we're in this new space where it's stupidly easy to build a company. On blockchain. Like the indexers are figured out, RPCs are figured out. I think that this is the time to suck it up if you've been in the space for a long time and just really get excited for this new sort of layer. The company Bitte it's a super dApp. From one prompt, you can interact with any smart contract on any chain. So instead of building massive interfaces for DAOs, you don't need all those buttons. What proposals do I have that I haven't voted on yet? Can you vote yes on all of them? Can I swap this for this on this chain? Can I do all these things? And can I interact with game characters just with natural language? So anyone can build an agent on our platform, peg it to a smart contract, and off we go. Why Avalanche? I think you nailed it as well, the maturity. Like coming into Ethereum is kind of a breath of fresh air to have a little bit of that weirdness. But then we started seeing rocks go for $98 million, and then we started seeing fart coin flying. I mean, it's a little bit off the handles sometimes. So it's nice to be part of a community that really focuses a little bit more on the maturity level, because this is a serious, elegant, like financial system we're trying to stitch together. And Avalanche seems to be nailing that part.
Cool, thanks so much. Lele?
Great, yeah. Great to see Yi, Nate, Jochem here as well. Yeah, really great to be here. So my name is Lele. I'm VP and Global Head of Business Development and Strategy at Kite AI. Kite AI is basically the transactional AI layer 1 on Avalanche. So in terms of what does Kite AI do, we're in a different era now. First, it was web first, mobile first, and now it's the era of AI agents. In order for AI agents to have kind of the trust framework for humans to interact with agents and also agents to interact autonomously with agents, it's very important to have the trust layer, which blockchain is a perfect technology for in terms of attribution, verification on chain, as well as providing a lot of the payment rails. And then why Avalanche? I think to echo what Yi and Nate have said, it's a really great ecosystem, very compliant, kind of the adults in the room. And also it's been very easy to spin up an L1. I think the Avalanche tech stack is great. The teams, both from Ava Labs and Avalanche Foundation, have been hugely supportive. Also being part of the InfraBiddle grant committee and seeing a lot of the new projects from AI that have come to Avalanche has been a really great experience. And then there's been very mature verticals in other areas. I think Avalanche is really killing it on the institutional side, a lot of great gaming projects, and a very vibrant DeFi ecosystem too.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, every time I hear these guys speak, I realize that I'm super bullish on these projects. It's just really cool. My name is Jochem. I'm responsible for partnerships at Aethir. We've got a pretty interesting partnership with Avalanche, where we do all sorts of things. And it's interesting for me because I'm a long-time AVAX holder myself, so there's a little bit of self-interest there. But also it's interesting because we work together on really driving AI on Avalanche. So a couple of things that we do together with the foundation is that we're part of the InfraBiddle AI selection committee. So we're quite deeply involved there. And for the AI builders here in the room, it might be nice to know that Aethir has a 100 million compute grant fund that Avalanche builders have fast-tracked access to. So whenever you're building Avalanche, you have access to that fund. Now, what is it that we do? Very straightforward. We aggregate enterprise-grade GPUs, so the top-quality GPUs, from data centers, from technology companies around the world. We aggregate that into our infrastructure on one hand. And on the other side, we try to match those with the right AI builders and cloud gaming companies. So those are the main industries that we focus on. Now, we started in 21, fast forward to 2025, we've got since today almost 430,000 enterprise-grade GPUs into the network, so it's a very big number in about 90 different countries. So that means that there's always a GPU nearby. So whenever you're an AI company who needs to train AI or do some inferencing tasks, then usually come to me. Now, why do we work closely with Avalanche? It is actually a very personal kind of thing in terms of culture. I know that I speak with hundreds of AI companies each month, and I know that whenever I forward an AI company to Avalanche, I know that they'll be treated well. Besides the fact that the technology is good, that is for me is very important. So that's why we had a very strong connect, and that's why I'm very excited about this whole partnership.
Thank you so much. For the interest of time, so I already promised with the panelists that we will create a debate at the end, okay? So we have one or two very quick questions for some of the panelists. So for example, the very interesting one is about the on-chain AI. What do you see about the near future, whether we can actually run all of the AI agents or AI training or everything on-chain? Can you give some view on that part? Maybe like one of you, and then we can move on. Anyone?
I guess I'll start. So for models and agents, so for models you can't really run it on chain. So typically it's run off chain, but then you can take a lot of the transaction volume from like models and agents on chain. And I think it's really important to have a blockchain that can handle a lot of the throughput and the huge amount of inference calls. And that's another reason we chose Avalanche. Basically, we're working on customizing the L1 at each of the levels of the modular blockchain, from like execution, settlement, and so forth. And actually spent a lot of time with the tech team, discussing exactly how to do that and to account for, compute at each of the levels.
So Nate was trying to say something?
Yeah.
Super faster to pick up the microphone, but it's your chance.
Let's see. Okay, agents. What are agents going to be doing and how do we decentralize them? If you think of an agent, it's really just a bunch of composable tools. And those composable tools can be just single, get me what my portfolio is from an API. Another tool could be a smart contract binding. Another tool could be running another AI agent on another LLM. And these agents are going to talk to other agents on different LLMs. So really trying to decentralize all these different pieces, it gets weird. So you could say maybe this one get endpoint gets published to IPFS and no one can update that agent again. But you're still calling external APIs to go do things. They could shut those API services down. It's a really long, hard problem to solve. For us, interacting with the chain directly by building a transaction for you to sign is like, good, we got that decentralized. Now how do we make sure all these different endpoints get sort of figured out? Maybe you hit a data resource that's immutable on Arweave or Walrus or something. I mean, at the end of the day, you kind of have to say, okay, at least a piece of this that matters is decentralized enough or immutable, and I'm good with that. But the fact that everything's going to be decentralized tomorrow, it's going to be a long, long, long road. But at least we're interacting with smart contracts, which are decentralized, which is a big thing that a lot of traditional finance systems like Stripe can't really do, right? We have open exposed functions that we can hit very easily with AI. So long story short, yeah, bit by bit.
I think so. I just want to add on what Lele said, that it's really hard to do a lot of things on chain. And one of the main things is because of the data. Data is huge. You cannot do like process a huge set of data on chain. And data is so critical for AI training. So now we are going to the area where ownership, privacy, transparency. So can you share your view on that particular part of the AI, data training for AI?
Cool.
Anyone? No worry.
Let me do so. Yeah, I think we talk about AI on chain. About let me put it this way. I think not everything should be on chain, and we have to figure out there is we have to decompose the problem into two layers. The first layer, we have to figure out what good for on-chain stuff. On-chain, because it's decentralization, there are compromise in terms of performance. We are talking about training or inference. It's very computing power hungry. So that part supposed not to be on-chain. It's nearly impossible. And but you look back the entire life cycle of AI, there are 3 stages in my humble understanding. The first one is curation the data for the training. The second stage is training themselves, fire up a cluster to consume the data to training the model. The third stage, the model is ready. We can deploy it and serving the user query to give them output. That's the 3 stages. Each of the stage, we can put the footprint on chain. That's very useful because we are talking about data. In the past, there are a lot of free data. In the future, we want to sourcing advanced knowledge from doctors, lawyers. Their data is super valuable. They can very expensive. So we have to identify their ownership. If the contribution would be on-chain, that's very easy to understand who making the contribution, who verify the data. So clearly identification of ownership. And also a creation of ownership is just part of the story. We want to revolutionize the chain of shared revenue. Data training the model generate revenue. The revenue should be back to the data creator. That's the entire flow should be on-chain. So which model uses what piece of data should be on-chain. And also the model serving how many times query should be on-chain and who uses that. So entire this type of footprint should be on-chain. And all the heavy duty should offload in the off-chain infrastructure in terms of the storage and also computing and inference infrastructure. So that's my understanding of on-chain and how data should be part of the ecosystem. The on-chain should solve some problem off-chain couldn't solve. It's more like a value attribution.
Yep. Thank you so much. Jochem, you was trying to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Oh, so Lele want to.
Sure, I'll say something. So on the data privacy side, we're working with various providers on the TE front, like Fala, for example, Zhang, some other teams. But also the Ava Cloud team has actually been working on something that's pretty interesting on the confidential transfer side. So basically, you can the sender and receiver have the information, but during the transfer process, you can't really see a lot of the information. So that's something that we're working with them on. And also you can use private keys so that the information at rest or in storage won't be seen, as well as when it's being streamed or being transferred. So I think it's a big discussion that people always talk about and always comes up. But I think there's a lot of work being done on that front.
Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical on the whole TEE route. I think Eliza did it and proved that it works, but everybody's putting their private keys into a centrally controlled thing that no one can touch. You still saw people like asking for private keys through the agent trying to hack it, and they're tough. I think that there's a new route you'll be hearing a lot about. It's people not going the TE route and going more of self-publishing WASM blobs. Imagine you have your own independent Docker container. This is becoming stupidly easy to do nowadays with all the stuff that's coming up. Being able to give that your private key, host all of your private data, and then you can start doing autonomous executions like, hey, can you unstake this, swap it for that, bridge it for this, and then stake it later, let that run for 10 days of epochs, and then you're done, and you got your WASM container just doing its thing while you're at the beach. And then that's just the first step, right, of moving into this fun world of everything's changing every day.
Okay, so data privacy is my expertise. So I'm thinking about maybe the WASM block and TEE will be combined at some point. Okay, sure. But one of the fun facts I would love to share with you. So a lot of people come here for Avalanche, but very few people know that Professor Emin Gunsirer, the founder of Avalanche, was one of the very first person who actually brought the concept of TEE into blockchain like very early. Like I believe in 2009 or 2010, he published a research paper on that topic. Yeah, so like Professor Emin Gunsirer was like ahead of time many times, not the first one. And he has a blockchain before Bitcoin actually. Okay, that's FYI. But actually the panel today is for AI, and we want to see more of the debate coming from the panelists. So thank you, Nate. Okay, so like every other week you can see that, okay, an announcement of another blockchain AI company launching decentralization in AI. So I would love to hear your view on the decentralization or centralization of AI, how it works, and will there a time like in the future everything will be decentralization for AI?
Yeah, let me go first. Since my last round of the information.
But maybe we can like create debate.
Okay.
Yeah. So which view do you support centralization or decentralization?
Yeah, I just emphasize there is some challenging I want to raise up. It's not everything should be decentralized. It's nearly impossible. Decentralization is a trade-off for the trust at a compromise of the performance. So some heavy duty should be off-chain. That's my view. I want just to challenge the people on the stage. If you believe me or you have different opinions, that's totally okay. Yeah.
Yeah, let me go all out from a non-technical perspective, because you guys are hardcore builders. There's a little bit of a nuance there, because when you talk about AI, you immediately think about LLMs. Well, it's extremely difficult to build an LLM in a completely decentralized way. Fetch, Singularity are doing a really good job, but still behind the other big players that we know of. But then again, when we're talking about one level below that, that's what we just talked about, are agents. And I think that for us, there's a reason why we are all in this room. And that reason is that we're all rooted in the same principles. That was one started by Bitcoin, obviously. So I know that a bunch of Bitcoin OGs in this event. So it's there's much more to this, but if you look at some of the fundamental principles from Bitcoin, you talk about distribution of power, right? So distribution of power for Bitcoin meant that, you know, something as important as money, as wealth, as economy should not be centralized, should not be in the hands of one single government or one single entity. Now, if you draw the parallel to AI, it makes sense to say, like, hey, wait a minute, something as powerful as and impactful as AI should not be in the hands of a select few people. Other foundational principles include verifiability and ownership. Bitcoin is very straightforward. Then you moved it into Web3, where you're talking about tokenization of real-world assets, NFTs, all that sort of stuff. Move it into AI, and you're suddenly talking about what Codatta is building around ownership and of data and being able to track whether your data is used by AI agents. Ownership in the sense of actually owning your own agent, knowing that your agent is not leaking any kind of information to the central authority. Another fundamental principle that I personally love is radical inclusion. When Bitcoiners talked about banking the unbanked, when in Web3 we talked about, you know, open finance for everyone, then in AI you want to have a radical inclusive environment where everyone has access to AI. Now, these are just some fundamental principles that I care about. There are many more. But the fun fact is that whenever you talk about, whenever you look at those centralized agents, none of these principles come back. So the centralized companies, they don't plug in these principles. What these guys are building is based on these principles. So whenever there are people that are skeptical towards decentralized AI, for example, for me it's like, I think that we should be much more skeptical towards the centralized AI, and we should be much more open towards decentralized AI, because that's what we're building here.
Yeah, you have to know what is the core thing that's most important to me. So we had an NFT company, and in 2019, we were the first to use Arweave way back in the day. So what is the most important at the very raw level? We have to use centralized sources to do all the other things, but at the end of the day, I could shut down the NFT company, and your NFT still is alive, right? Who cares about using Mintbase anymore? But your NFT still lives on chain. Your metadata still lives on Arweave. I feel like all that centralization I did to make that marketplace work was just enough. That was my piece. So same thing with AI. What's the most important piece that if we had to shut down our company, that our users don't get royally screwed? That's, to me, the piece that we were looking to solve.
So a very specific question for Nate. So if I start a company, an AI company tomorrow, awesome. It's like a next generation of open AI, but it's centralized AI. Will you invest?
Sure, as long as your ethos is good, you're not trying to screw over the humans, and my kids can grow up in a better world later. That's the goal, right?
Well, I love that, as long as the ethos is good. And that's such an important factor. And what we're doing here in our space is we're literally building alternatives to those centralized solutions. I'm not saying that any of the centralized agents that are any bad, but what we're here for is to show that we can actually build the alternative that follows those ethical principles.
What about the view on Kite AI?
Yeah, well, I think there's good and bad to both. So on the centralized side, of course, it's typically there's like good coordination, and you can see that with decentralized building. Typically, there's speed. People can build projects very quickly because you can have many projects built at the same time. However, there can be a lot of organizational issues in terms of coordination. But on the decentralized side, what's really great is on the centralized side, you know, you have all these big players, OpenAI, Google, many others. You don't know exactly what's happening behind closed doors, how your data is being utilized, and then you as a person who's contributing a lot of this information, ultimately you're not compensated. Also, you're very much at the whim of their pricing and rate limits, and we've seen that a lot with us, you know, running on like various LLM models. The pricing is very high, and then we get quickly rate limited. So I think those are all things that, you know, will be helpful on the decentralized side.
Yeah. Let me add some view. While our folks talking about, there is some inspiration I draw from them. I think normally, I think in the past, because a lot of career, primary year is spent in Silicon Valley, I trust a lot of the good guys. But as global as some Altman appear to be, the OpenAI started as a term open. But you know, over the time, it's somehow turned to want to be profitable and also globally known for the closed door practice. So we should never trust any good, so-called good guys. And decentralization definitely solves the trust issues. And if everything goes fine, we don't think that the decentralization matters. But when the time is super challenging, we will not understand the value of trust and decentralization. And I think in the future, agent will become part of our life. And very soon, the agent will represent us. And we want to fully understand whatever interaction he did for us. Okay. Whatever interaction they contacted to represent us, we want to make their footprint auditable. And also, we want to grant some of access to the agent to custody our assets or make some payment. Sometimes we need that type of automation. This type of thing should be on chain, can help us to work with the agents, right? Okay, so there's some of additional layer of information I want to share.
Thank you. So anyway, as a moderator, I would love to share my view as well. Okay, I'm a big fan of centralization, actually. Okay, so I used to work at Google for many years, and now when Life AI, basically we leverage AI for life sciences. And so at scale, about like we have to provide, process exabytes of data like an hour. So with that scale and with that a lot of data, decentralization work really challenging. So that's why this day, like you can see Google, Microsoft, they publish a lot of tool for life sciences. So you can check out TX Scanner or another NGO company started by Eric Smith, Future House. They work great for all of the life sciences. All of that is centralized. I think Lele, Jochem, and Nate G brought really great views about like data ownership. It has to protect the privacy and the transparency. If the centralization can provide that property, that will be like we have the best of the world. So the time is up. Can we give a great thing to our panelists today? May I take a selfie with the wonderful panelists? Yep. Okay. Okay. Nate.